Hello, my dear friends. If you've recently lost your husband, I want you to do something with me right now. Pause and breathe. Not the kind of breath you take when the coffee spills or when the cat knocks over the lamp, but the kind of breath that tells your heart, it's okay. I'm still here. You don't have to figure everything out today. You don't need a 5-year plan, a new haircut, or a sudden move to Florida. In fact, some of the biggest decisions, they can wait. They should wait. Losing your partner, your best friend, your quiet half, changes everything. And when life tilts like that, rushing feels natural. But I'm here to lovingly whisper, this is not the time to sprint. Today, we'll walk together through 5 big decisions you should not rush after losing your husband. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply wait. If you're ready, please comment 1 below to let me know you're here with me. And don't forget to subscribe so you never have to walk these tender roads alone. Let's move to decision 1. Don't rush to sell your home. There's something they never tell you about losing your husband. It's not just the silence in the house that hurts. It's the way every chair, every doorknob, every creaky floorboard seems to whisper his name when the nights get too long. You walk into the kitchen, and for a split second, you still expect to see him sitting there with his coffee, smiling up at you. It hits you out of nowhere. In the laundry room, at the garden gate, while reaching for his favorite coffee mug you forgot was still tucked away in the back of the cabinet. And in those moments, my dear, the weight of the memories becomes almost unbearable. I know, because I have lived it too. After my husband passed, there were mornings I would wake up, look at our home, and feel this desperate, aching urge to pack everything up and run. I thought if I left the house behind, I could somehow leave the pain behind too. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, real estate papers in front of me, hand trembling, thinking maybe selling it all would somehow untangle my broken heart. Maybe a new place, a smaller apartment, a different view out the window would make it hurt less. But something, maybe it was the voice of an older, wiser part of myself, made me wait. And thank God I did. Because here's the truth, no one tells you when you're raw with grief. Selling your home too soon often leads to a second kind of heartbreak. You don't just lose the person you loved, you lose the place that held the last echoes of your life together. It's like pulling the last thread out of a fabric that barely holds you together as it is. I have seen too many women, lovely and strong, make this mistake. They sign the papers quickly, thinking they're freeing themselves, only to find that what they really lost was the only place left that still felt like theirs. That familiar spot by the window where he used to read the newspaper. The garden he planted that blooms every spring, whether he is there to see it or not. These are not burdens to carry. They are treasures. Silent witnesses to a life you built together, piece by piece, day by day. My heart aches when I see good women throw away that history before they've even had a chance to grieve it properly. Grief, my friend, is not a problem you can fix by changing your scenery. It's not a wound you can heal by running faster. It follows you, not to punish you, but because love leaves footprints that no suitcase or new address can erase. That's why I say to you now, from one woman who has sat in the same darkness to another, slow down. Please, slow down. Give yourself time. 6 months, a year, maybe even longer. Live with the memories a little while. Let yourself walk those halls, sit on that old couch, cry into those pillows if you must. Because sometimes healing isn't about moving forward. Sometimes healing is about standing still long enough to let your heart catch up with your body. The house will still be there when you're ready. And if the day truly comes when you can walk through those doors and feel peace instead of pain, then, and only then, you will know it's time. Not because you were pushed by loneliness or fear, but because you have truly outgrown the need for those walls. Until then, my dear sister in sorrow and strength, treat your home the way you would treat an old friend who sat silently with you through the hardest night, with patience, with tenderness, and with gratitude. In grief, there is no prize for rushing, but there is deep, enduring peace for those who honor the slowness of healing. You are not alone in this, and you are stronger than you know. 2. Don't rush financial decisions or big investments. There's something about grief that no one warns you about, not really. It leaves you raw, wide open, like a house after a storm with all the windows shattered. When you lose your husband, your anchor, it's not just the sorrow that comes rushing in. It's confusion, fear, loneliness, and a desperate need to feel safe again. And in that vulnerable place, It's so easy to believe that someone else might be able to help carry the burden for you. A friendly voice offering to manage your money, a persuasive advisor suggesting an investment, a neighbor saying you should act quickly before you lose opportunities. I say this with all the love and all the wrinkles earned from years of living. Be very careful. No one, and I mean no one, will protect your future the way you will. When you're hurting, it's tempting to trust too soon, to hand over decisions just so you don't have to think about them. You might even feel grateful to have someone step in and take care of things. But what feels like kindness in the moment can turn into regret that lingers for years. I watched it happen to my dear friend Margaret. Her husband Robert had handled all the finances for decades. When he passed, she was overwhelmed. The paperwork, the bills, the banking, the little decisions that had once felt invisible. Not long after the funeral, a well-dressed man from a financial company started visiting her. He spoke with such soft, reassuring words, promises of taking the stress away, making sure her money worked for her, keeping her secure. In her grief, Margaret believed him. She handed over control of her accounts before the end of that very first month. 6 months later, she found herself tied up in risky investments she didn't understand, with penalties she couldn't afford to pay. Her savings, the very foundation Robert had worked so hard to build, was tangled in a mess that took her years to straighten out. And worse than the financial blow was the feeling she couldn't shake, that she had let herself be taken advantage of, that the world she thought she understood had shifted under her feet, and nobody had warned her. Grief can fool you into thinking that action, any action, is better than standing still. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is nothing at all. Just breathe, just be. Trust yourself enough to say, not yet. Give yourself at least 6 months, a full year if you can, before making any major financial changes. Let the storm inside you settle before you start rebuilding the shore. And if you find yourself needing guidance, and you probably will because none of us can carry everything alone, choose your advisors with the same caution you would use in picking someone to guard your most precious treasure. Look for someone truly independent, someone who doesn't have a sales pitch attached to their kindness. Ask questions, take notes, and if anything feels rushed, urgent, or confusing, that's a sign to slow down even more. I know it's hard. I know the nights feel endless and the weight of what next can sit heavy on your chest. But protecting your future is not selfish. It's not foolish. It's an act of love. Love for yourself, love for the years ahead, love for the memory of the life you and your husband built together. In this tender chapter of life, the decisions you make are seeds for the seasons to come. Plant them carefully, protect them fiercely, and remember, even when it feels like the whole world has forgotten how much you've lost, you have not been forgotten. You are seen, you are heard, and you are still needed in this world. 3. Don't withdraw from family and friends. Did you know that loneliness can shorten your life as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day? That's not just an old saying, it's what doctors and researchers have found over and over again. And yet, when grief comes into our lives like a thief in the night, our first instinct is to pull away, to shut the door, draw the curtains, and let the rest of the world carry on without us. It's almost as if hiding away could somehow keep the pain contained inside the walls, safe from any more hurt. I know this because I've been there. After my husband passed, there were days, weeks, when even the idea of answering the phone felt too heavy. I would sit by the window, watching cars pass by, neighbors laugh in the street, the seasons changing outside my glass, and I felt like the world was moving on without me. A part of me almost wanted it to. It was easier to disappear into the sorrow, to become invisible, than to admit how lost and hollow I felt. But here's the truth I learned the hard way. Isolation is a slow and dangerous poison. It starts quietly, whispering that you need rest, that you're better off alone. But left unchecked, it grows into a thick fog that clouds your mind and saps your spirit. Before you know it, loneliness doesn't just accompany grief, it deepens it, turns it into something colder, heavier, harder to crawl out from under. I remember a woman from our church, Helen, who lost her husband 2 years before me. At first, she was everywhere, at service, at coffee hour, at book club, but then she stopped coming. She needs time, people said. Let her grieve. Months turned into a year. By the time I knocked on her door, just to check in, she was a ghost of the lively woman I remembered. Her smile was brittle. Her voice was a whisper. She had built a fortress of solitude so high around herself that even a friend's knock barely reached her heart anymore. We think isolation protects us, but it only prolongs the ache. The human heart, especially a heart wounded by loss, needs connection like a garden needs rain. Not grand gatherings or noisy crowds, just small, life-affirming moments. A cup of coffee shared with an old friend, a gentle conversation on the porch, a grandchild's laughter floating through a Sunday afternoon. These little encounters are like tiny lamps along a dark road, lighting the way back to life one flicker at a time. You don't have to pretend you're fine. You don't have to talk about the loss if you don't want to, but you do need to stay tethered to the world that still holds love for you. Because the truth, even when it feels distant and painful, is that you are still needed here. Your stories, your wisdom, your laugh, yes, even your tears, are needed more than you know. If you're sitting alone today, thinking no one would notice if you disappeared, I am here to tell you, you would be missed more than you can imagine. Your absence would leave a hole that no one else could fill. So please, my dear, reach out. Take the small, brave step of calling someone. Accept that invitation for lunch, even if your heart feels heavy. Say yes to that neighbor who wants to stop by. You don't have to force a smile. You just have to show up, battered heart and all. When you hurt the most, it's not withdrawal that heals you. It's human connection. The simple, stubborn act of showing up, again and again, until the weight of grief starts to shift. Until you can feel, even in the smallest way, that life is not done with you yet. You are still here. And because you are still here, you are still deeply, deeply loved. 4. Don't rush to get rid of memories. There are days, in the thick of grief, when the sight of his old sweater slung over a chair feels like a punch to the chest. When a simple coffee cup left behind on the kitchen shelf carries so much weight, it feels like it could pull you under. His shoes by the door, the newspaper folded the way he always left it, the jacket still hanging on its hook. All of it becomes too much. A cruel reminder that life has moved forward, even when your heart refuses to. And so it's natural, almost instinctive, to want to clear it all away, to wipe the slate clean. To think that if you just empty the closets, donate the books, scrub the house of his fingerprints, somehow the pain might follow them out the door. I understand that urge better than I can say. There were mornings when I stood in front of our bedroom closet, my hands trembling, thinking, I can't live with these ghosts another day. But here's what experience and a few quiet regrets have taught me. Don't rush. Pain demands action, but healing demands patience. Those shirts, those photographs, that old coffee cup he loved so much, they are not your enemies. They are small witnesses to a life shared, a love lived, a world that existed because the two of you walked through it together. You don't have to look at them now. You don't even have to decide what to do with them today. What you do need to do is give yourself permission not to make a decision while your heart is still bleeding. Pack the things gently. Place them carefully into boxes if you must. Tuck them away into a quiet closet or a corner of the attic where they can rest until the ache softens. Because one day, and I promise you, even if you can't imagine it now, you may wake up with a little more lightness in your chest. You might find yourself reaching for that old sweater, not to cry into it, but to hold it close and feel, just for a moment, his warmth again. You may sit in your kitchen, wrap your hands around that chipped coffee cup, and smile at the memory instead of breaking apart. Memories, my dear, are not meant to chain us to the past. They are not there to trap us in sorrow. They are the bridges we carry within us. Bridges that connect what was to what still can be. You are not dishonoring him by keeping the things that still hold pieces of him, and you are not betraying him by waiting until you are ready. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about learning how to carry the love forward, in your heart, in your memories, in your quiet, resilient steps into a future he would want you to keep living. Take your time. Your heart deserves that much. You deserve that much. 5. Don't rush to believe your life is over. There are moments after loss when it feels like the earth has opened up and swallowed you whole. When the weight of grief sits so heavy on your chest that even breathing feels like a task too big to manage. In those moments, it's easy to believe that your life, as you knew it, ended the day you said goodbye. I know that feeling all too well. The mornings when you wake up and forget for a fraction of a second that he's gone, and then it rushes back, crushing you all over again. The afternoons when you sit by the window staring at the same patch of sky, wondering what you're supposed to do with the pieces of a world that no longer fits together. It feels like your heart has shattered beyond anything repairable, like there is no you left outside of the sorrow. But hear me now. With the voice of someone who has walked that long, lonely road, the most precious thing remains. You. You, with your memories. You, with your strength you don't even realize you still have. You, with your quiet courage to keep going, even when every step hurts. There will be mornings when getting out of bed feels like lifting a mountain, when the simple act of brushing your hair or making a cup of tea seems pointless. But slowly, so slowly that you might not even notice at first, life will start weaving itself back into your days. Maybe it will come in the form of a flower blooming outside your window, or the sound of a child laughing on the street. Maybe it will come in the tiny flicker of wanting to listen to music again, or feeling hungry for your favorite meal. Life doesn't come back all at once. It tiptoes, it whispers, and day by day, step by hesitant step, you will begin to find a new way to live. Not a life that forgets him. No, never that. A life that honors him. A life that carries his memory like a soft, sacred treasure tucked deep in your heart. But also a life that cherishes you, your breath, your laughter, your still beautiful days ahead. You are not a broken thing to be discarded. You are not a chapter that has ended. You are the living continuation of everything you built together and everything you are still meant to become. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a new, beautiful chapter. One where love still exists. Not just the love you once shared, but the love you still deserve to receive and the love you still have to give. The road will not be easy. It never is, but it is still yours to walk, with dignity, with courage, with the quiet pride of someone who has survived the unimaginable and still found a way to carry hope in her pocket. You are still here, my dear, and that means your story is far from over. In fact, some of the most meaningful pages may still be waiting for you to write them. If these words found even the smallest corner of your heart today, I hope you'll take a moment to comment one below, just to let me know you're here, walking alongside me on this winding, beautiful, messy road. And if you smiled, nodded, or even sighed a little in agreement during our time together, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support isn't just a click or a number. It's the heartbeat that keeps this warm, safe space alive for all of us who are learning how to live, love, and laugh again after life's hardest storms. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. And you are certainly not walking this road alone. Thank you from the bottom of my old but stubbornly hopeful heart for spending your precious time here with me. Sending you a gentle, arm-squeezing hug, the kind that says you're stronger than you think and softer than you know. Until we meet again, my dear, may your days grow just a little lighter, a little brighter, and a whole lot gentler.